Call Allah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rechakodash. That's what this world and he calls God and Jesus Christ in the ancient Paleolithic tongue. We give double honors to the elders and apostles across the four corners of the earth who rule and teach well, predominantly the ones at the home of truth. We know the home of truth lies, the home of great millstone. And shalom to the holy elect out here pushing this word of truth and sincerity. I got a quick little article. Oh, and a big shout out to the elder, the Israel Camp, Brother Kazak, whom I teach under. But I got a quick little article. And from End Time Headlines, it says, supply chain shock appears to be on its way to America. All right. Supply chain shock appears to be on its way to America. Right. And we know this is all stemming from the Strait of Hormuz being closed down. Right. You know, you got Trump and Iran with this war. And with this ceasefire they have going on, okay? But people are not realizing the strength of this strait has an impact. That the strength that this strait has an impact on the United States, economy, man. Okay, Salaki. Why? Because 30% of our oil, 30% of our fertilizer that farmers need to grow crops and harvest and to make certain things, there's a lot of materials, raw materials that come through this strait that is needed to make certain machines, that makes our clothes, that makes processes our food, or processes things that we use on a daily basis, man. But mostly our food, a lot of wheat, a lot of crops, a lot of things that aid to growing food and growing crops, or machines that, help make food, or that help make the raw materials for things that we use on a daily basis, man. Okay, like plastics. It's like I say, oil, plastics, and other raw materials, packagings, bags, all these things. They need oil to make these machines that makes these packagings and stuff, man. They need oil to make gas. They need oil to make certain supplies, right? It says, according to a report from CNN Business, a spiraling crisis in Asia fueled by disruptions in the Middle East. So it's all stemming from this war, okay? It's raising alarms about potential shortages heading toward the United States. And this is not potential, this is prophecy, all right? We bank on prophecy being fulfilled, all right? And we know the scriptures are true. The prophets know the scriptures are true. And we know these things are going to come to pass. It says gas stations across parts of Asia are rationing fuel. Hospitals face dwindling medical supplies. So certain things are going to be cut off, man. It said consumers are stockpiling plastic bags, and factories grapple with packaging shortages. So a lot of these raw materials that we get through the straits, and a lot of the oil and fuel, that they use for the machines that make these type of raw materials that we use, whether we go into the store, we might buy a box of cereal or a carton of milk. How you think this carton is made? How do you think that box is made? How do you think whatever the food that we buy is packaged in, how do you think it's made? It's made by machines that require what? Oil. Oil requires other plastics and other raw materials, man. Okay? It says these strains stem largely from the ongoing closure of the Strait of Hormuz amid conflict with Iran, which has curtailed critical shipments of oil, plastics, and other materials. With roughly half of U.S. imports originating from Asia, the ripple effects could eventually test American supply chains, and it will. Which this is the whole agenda, that these devils want. You know, they want a tight squeeze on Babylon, man. Right? Okay, you already have the dollar already depleted down to, you know, it's to naught. You got over 70 countries stepping up against U.S. and their war crimes. You know, you got NATO, EU NATO being, you know, separate from the U.S. All these things amidst all the war is ushering in, it's prophecy, but aiding to ushering in the reset to the American society, man. Okay, this reset will be when this dollar crash and he brings in this digital infrastructure of a digital dystopian society, I should say. Okay, because we're headed into a new world order, as they say. Okay, in this new world order, we're not going to have private farms. We're not going to have sovereignty. We're not going to have personal belongings as far as anything. We're not going to own homes. We're not going to own land. All right? Why? Because these elites, you know, they want to own everything, man. Okay? They want a tight squeeze on America for the masses to depend on this new system that they're about to roll out. All right? It says, with roughly half of U.S. imports originated from Asia, the ripple effects can eventually will test American supply chains. While widespread shortages have not yet materialized in the U.S., experts warn that prolonged disruptions could change that picture. Petrochemical feedstocks are related, and related materials are already tightening globally. You know, you see, they're not warning the masses. They're not warning the people that these things are happening. So everybody's going to be caught off guard. Okay? It says you hear a lot about crude oil and the impacts to diesel and gasoline, but feedstocks and petrochemicals are in short supply too, said Angie Gildea, the KPMG global head of oil and gas. Major producers in South Korea and Singapore have declared force majeure on commitments, signaling they cannot meet customer demands. A condom manufacturer also recently warned of surging prices due to inaccessible raw materials. The S&P 500 indicator for global supply constraints has risen sharply, exceeding its long-term average for the first time in 3 years. Okay? Now, I'm not going to read all of this. Like I said, this is basically the point that I'm getting at. But this is also prophecy that famine is coming. Okay? Because if we have a lack of oil and fertilizer, what is that going to lead to? It's going to lead to famine. It's going to lead to fewer crops, not as big of a harvest as you would get if you had enough fertilizer and you had enough oil and the materials on hand to be able to produce these things. Okay? But this is gonna catch everybody on the blind side, which is what Edom wants. This is what the elites want. You know? Why? Because they want everybody to go into fight or flight mode, go completely chaotic, and then they're gonna come in like a flood with their military, lock this bitch down, and force everybody and mandate them, give them a false hope. You know, society can be returned, and they're gonna return with what? This MOTB ultimately. You know, this biometric, digital society. You know, where everything's gonna be digital. You know, bank accounts will require passwords. The MOTB will be mandated or introduced. Okay, you know, this is all going to be ripple effects of a time that is written in the scriptures. It's going to all roll out a prophetic. How can I put it? Prophetic scenery, man. Okay, you know, and with all these things happening with the Strait of Hormuz, It's prophecy that, hey, the merchants of the earth they're not buying Esau's merchandise no more. They're all dropping the dollar and they're all trading with other countries, man. Okay? Why? Because it's too much conflict dealing with this man, right? It's too much conflict dealing with this man. This man is out of control. Okay? And all the other nations, they're mad. Okay? You know, people don't realize how much this famine is gonna hit. Okay? They don't realize. They don't realize this. The second Esdras 15 and 5, it says, "Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction." Okay? "For wickedness have exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled." Okay? You know, Esau is trying to fulfill his agenda, you know, and he's raw. He's going mad, man. You know, the Lord is allowing him to show his horns and go full force, man. You know, and the time is approaching of Jacob's trouble. So we know all these things have to come to pass before we see our Lord. We got to see the MOTB. You know, we got to see. Of course, we got rumors of wars going on right now, but more nations are going to end up joining, man. You know, but you're gonna have to see that time of trouble, which is here, but it's not full force yet. But we're approaching it, man. Okay. Within the next couple months, we're gonna start seeing shortages of food on the shelves. We're already seeing it now, man. You know, shortages of food on the shelves. Some things that you might go to the store normally and get that you don't see anymore. You know, these things are approaching real fast, and it's gonna blindside a lot of people, man. It's gonna cause chaos. People are gonna freak out and bug out, man. Why? Because they have no knowledge and understanding of what's going on. They're gonna want everything to return normal, man. All right? But they're not gonna have the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of the scriptures, because why? They didn't hearken to the prophets, or the Lord just ain't dealing with them. They're 2/3. They're not blessed to see and receive this truth to understand the times that we're in. Okay? Verse 7, "Therefore saith the Lord, I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness, which they profanely commit, neither will I suffer them in those things in which they wickedly exercise themselves. Behold, the innocent and righteous blood crieth unto me, and the souls of the just complain continually." Okay? And we do. We complain continually about this place. Why? Because we want to get up out of here, man. We don't want to dwell in this man's kingdom no more, in this wicked kingdom. Okay? And we see the plagues and the prophecies are hasting. All right? You know? Think about the famine in the scriptures, man. In the book of Kings, they said a donkey's head sold for 4 pieces of silver, which I think goes back to like $400, man. That's how bad famine was, man, in that time. You know? Matter of fact, let me hit that. I think it's 2 Kings chapter, is it 6? Okay. 6:24, it says, "Then it came to pass," 2 Kings 6:24, "it came to pass after this, that Ben-Hadad, king of Syria, gathered all his host and went up and besieged Samaria. And there was a great famine in Samaria, and behold, they besieged it, until an ass's head was sold for 80 pieces of silver, and a fourth part of a cab of dove's dung for 5 pieces of silver." Okay, so, and a dove's dung is dookie shit. It's bird shit. You know, they were selling bird shit. So imagine how much more in this time the famine is going to be, if the Lord told us that this is going to be a time of trouble that the earth has never seen before, man. All right? And here we have the Strait of Hormuz going to cut off 30% of the goods that we receive, man. Okay? They're going to cut off 30% of the goods we receive, which will lead into famine. All right? You know, and then it's also prophecy showing that these other nations are going to start trading with other countries. Because the scripture said in Revelation 18 that what? No man buyeth his merchandise no more, man. Talking about Babylon. Revelation 18:10 says, standing afar off for the fear of her torment. Why? Because the Lord is about to bring destruction to this place, man. Saying at last, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, 4 and 1 hour is thy judgment come, and the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise no more anymore. The merchandise of gold, silver, precious stones, pearl, fine linen, purple, silk, scarlet, and all thine wood, and all manners of vessels of ivory, all manner of vessels of most precious wood, of brass and iron and marble, cinnamon and odors and ointments of frankincense, wine and oil, fine flour and wheat, beasts and sheep, horses, chariots, slaves, and souls of men. See, all these things, right? These are things that we get from this strait, man. Okay? So y'all can constantly say, y'all don't believe this and y'all don't believe that, but the prophecies are showing and proving the prophets right, man. Okay? Like I seen a video titled earlier. The prophecies are our validation. We get validation from the prophecies, man. Okay? Why? Because we're blessed to receive this truth that others aren't. And we get criticized and talked down upon them because of it, man. But at the end of the day, they still look like fools, man. Meanwhile, you got articles coming out day in and day out, every hour, every second of the day, posting about the said perils that are on the way and plagues that are on the way to Babylon, man. All right? So y'all don't have to believe us anymore, man. The proof, what they say, the proof is in the pudding, man. Okay? The proof is in the pudding. All right? My battery's low. Hopefully that was edifying, straight to the point. Shalom, until next time.